Welcome to Her Success Matters, a podcast exploring how advisors can work together to build a pathway for women to succeed in financial services. I am your host, Christine Shaw, Chief Executive Officer of Investment News. This podcast will give you rare insider access to the top financial services executives who are taking action to break down the barriers for the next generation of female advisors. You will also hear from some amazing and inspiring women who have forged their own pathway to success. Today's conversation is all about how women need to show their passion and not be afraid to take a risk to leave a safe harbor in order to reach even higher highs and gain new perspectives as leaders in financial services. Joining us is a very special guest, Ida Liu, head of Citi Private Bank North America. Ida's unique background in both fashion and financial services means she knows all too well what it's like to take a risk and leave what's comfortable to pursue her passion. Additionally, Ida sits on the Citi Women's Steering Committee, Citi's global strategy to focus on the advancement of women. She was also featured this year on Barron's 100 Most Influential Women in U.S. Finance. We are so thrilled to have you join us, Ida. Welcome to Her Success Matters.
Thank you so much, Christine. I'm thrilled to be here.
Ida, so please tell a little bit about your background and how it has really shaped your perspective of the industry.
Well, Christine, as you mentioned in the lovely intro that you just gave, I actually started my career in investment banking. And I worked in investment banking both in New York and out in Asia. So I had that sort of both sides of the geography exposure while I was working for almost 7 years in investment banking. And after business school, I decided I wanted to do something a little different. So I ventured into the fashion industry where I ran a women's fashion design firm by the name of Vivian Tam. So I did some great things with her during my time in fashion. I opened up her European presence. I opened up some stores for her in China. I helped her launch a new dress line. And it was a lot of fun working in the fashion industry. But every fashion designer that I would meet would ask me, what stock should I buy? What bond should I buy? How should I invest my money? And I would always kindly remind them that I was in investment banking, that I did corporate advisory and not wealth management. But nonetheless, it occurred to me that there was a massive opportunity for wealth management solutions and services to the fashion industry. So I pitched that concept to Citi Private Bank 13 years ago. And I started with Citi as the head of the fashion, retail, and entertainment practice. In my view, really combining the best of both worlds. And then having another aha moment in 2011, when I was seeing all of the wealth that was being created out of Asia, I wanted to make sure that we were capturing that wealth in the North America region. So I launched another area of business focus for the private bank, the North America Asian Clients Group, which built very, very rapidly over the years. And then, of course, I went on to running the New York business for us at Citi, and now as the CEO of our North America business for the last year and a half.
What an incredible background. I'm just blown away. I mean, I've read a lot about you and have watched some of your videos, but hearing it in your voice, it's just so powerful. And I was fortunate enough to spend some of my earlier years in Hong Kong and in Asia as well. And it's so amazing to see someone of your background who had the wherewithal to connect fashion and finance and bring those two amazing industries together in a way that you have for Citi. So well done, Ida, on that. And how has taking that risk to pursue another passion like fashion strengthened your leadership qualities in finance?
Well, it definitely strengthens leadership qualities when we have different experiences. I think the different experiences of investment banking, getting that fundamental financial analysis down pat, and then moving into running a small global business, the operations of the business, the strategy around running a business, that perspective is extraordinarily useful. And then, of course, bringing that back to the wealth management side, which is frankly, in our opinion, something that everyone should have experience, exposure, and be well versed in. So I think the paths have made sort of a logical sense for me in thinking about the different gaps that I had as I was building my career, filling those gaps. And then, of course, in my opinion today, really having the best of everything combined together at Citi Private Bank on the wealth management platform. So it's been a real pleasure, and it's been a wonderful journey. and a journey that has really helped me hone in on different skills and develop different skills over time.
And let's dig in a little bit more on that. So tell us a bit about when you did return to financial services, you rejoined, you joined Citigroup, as you stated, and then you launched the fashion media entertainment practice. What was that experience like? And how did you have the confidence to go forward and say, this is what I think we should be doing?
Well, Christine, I think one of the things that is a misnomer is that a lot of people think of the financial services industry, especially large global institutions like Citi, as not being as creative or innovative. And I completely think that that is absolutely false, as evidenced by my own career at Citi. Citi embraces innovation. It embraces great ideas. It embraces different strategies and areas of focus that'll help us grow. And thus, I've been very innovative in my time at Citi, both launching a fashion focus group and then a few years later launching the Asian clients focus group for us. And both of these experiences has been really wonderful for me, identifying a gap in the market, building a business around that, attracting the talent to build scale in each of those businesses. And they've, as a result, become some of our fastest growing businesses within the private bank. And so I'm very proud of that.
As you should be. And, it's great for you to kind of debunk the myths around large corporations not having the ability or flexibility to be creative. But it does take a strong person and personality and woman. And women, particularly, have a harder time taking risk in their careers. So, what advice would you give to women aiming to progress their career paths?
So, Christine, one of the things I always say is that it's super important to take risks. So, just like you just said, a lot of women are hesitant to take risk. But I think we have to be more bold about taking risks and trying to find opportunities that are slightly outside of our comfort zone, pushing ourselves a bit further in order to find different opportunities. I find that often women wait until we're 120% ready, until we raise our hands for the next opportunity or we think about the next promotion. And I would challenge us to think a little bit differently. Why not ask earlier on? Why not challenge yourself? Why not stretch your abilities a bit more? I think those push projects and those push opportunities are ones that really allow us to exponentially grow. So I would say definitely think outside of the box, definitely push yourself, take some risks in your career, and step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I was just actually having a fantastic conversation with another female CEO last night. And we were speaking about those uncomfortable moments. And she revealed that she used to be petrified about public speaking. And we all go through these pivotal moments in our lives or career. And sometimes it's easy to retreat and just not go for it. And I think that you make some great points is just be bold and have the confidence. I mean, the worst that can happen is somebody says no or you make a mistake, but those are the moments I believe that you learn from tremendously and
No,
you build your
absolutely.
strengths. Yeah.
Absolutely, Christine. And, to your point about public speaking and fear of public speaking, I have to say that resonates deeply with me.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was petrified of public speaking. I mean, literally, my hands would be shaking. I'd try to put the paper in front of my face. But yet, I had an unbelievable public speaking teacher my freshman year in high school that saw something in me that I didn't even know was there. And she pushed me and she pushed me and she made me super uncomfortable. And I'd have to keep getting up there and repeat and repeat and repeat until I got comfortable, until I could shine, until I realized this is doable. It's not that bad. And again, I think it's those experiences that are really, life changing when you see that you can actually accomplish something that you don't personally think you can do. It just takes some practice, repetition, and again, getting yourself a little bit out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, it's one of the things I did that I hear over and over when we have these conversations is almost everyone has someone who's helped them along the way. And I think sometimes women think you shouldn't ask for help. You should be able to do it on your own. And even when you're talking about having a teacher to help you with public speaking, like it's okay to lean in to get help or have people give you coaching on the things that you need help with. And we all do that. So I think that's great. So Let's talk a little bit about gender and racial equality. What steps did you overcome in what did you do to overcome the stereotypes as an Asian American woman in finance?
Well, Christine, I don't think I've completely overcome all the stereotypes, if you want me to speak very frankly. I mean, it's
Please do. Please do.
ongoing problem that I think that a lot of us face. But the encouraging news is that it's changing, and it's changing for the better. And I am really, really honored to work for a firm that embraces everything about inclusion and diversity. I think you probably saw the news last week that we've announced our first female CEO, Jane Fraser, for Citigroup, which we were thrilled about, because Jane has now just shattered the glass ceiling for the financial services industry. And we can look up and say it's possible. So I couldn't be more thrilled that we're leading the way here in breaking the glass ceiling in financial services. But also, I work for a firm where 50% of our board of directors is women. That's very unusual.
That is very unusual.
And we also have over 50% employee base of women. And on my team, I'm 2/3 diverse. My team is 2/3 diverse on top of it all. And I think that that diversity is so incredibly important in our business. It drives innovation. It's important for us to have multiple perspectives. And it's important for us, frankly, to match our client base. And I had a client say to me a couple months ago, your team resembles the United Nations. And I took that as a massive compliment.
That is a great compliment.
It is. I was thrilled to get that. And listen, but we're still working at it, right? Because there aren't that many female Asian CEOs. And look, I think one of the things that I'm striving for every day is not only to break the glass ceiling, but to break the bamboo ceiling. And it's one step at a time. But the good news is I work for a company that embraces diversity, supports diversity. We have all different types of affinity networks to help develop our next generation of minority leaders. And I feel very encouraged by the progress that we are making.
That is incredible. And you're right. So I was going to talk about the appointment of Jane Fraser. I can't even tell you how exciting that is to read about that, to hear about that. And it takes companies like Citi, people like yourself, like Jane, to go forward and create a new pathway. And I think a lot of our guests have said, let's hope this is a movement and not a moment. And I think the difference we're seeing in 2020 with all the activities going around, the racial issues, the diversity issues, people are actually taking action now and having those conversations, uncomfortable conversations, and they're willing to commit to making change. Even at Investment News, we are now 56% of our staff is female, and we have a good amount of diverse talent within that too. And it's exciting.
Congratulations to you too.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, in terms of, as you think about your career, you're fortunate to work at Citi, who believes in this, embraces it, shattering the glass ceiling. What about personally? We talk a lot about mentorship and sponsorship and the difference between those two, because a lot of times people misunderstand the difference. So, I wanted you to let us know if there are any amazing women or people that have either mentored you or that you're sponsoring yourself now in this role.
Sure. No, absolutely. And one thing I will say, just to close the thought on diversity and inclusion,
Sure.
that I wanted to mention earlier too, is that we are firm believers that what gets measured gets done. I think it's very important to set metrics. I think it's very important to hold ourselves accountable so that we can make actionable and measurable progress. So, for example, Citi was one of the first global financial institutions to release our gender pay gap numbers. And we did that intentionally. We did that in 2019, and we're making progress against closing that gap every year until we completely close the gap. So I think that that's very important, that we as leaders of organizations also put metrics in place so we can measure progress. And we just committed $1 billion to closing the racial equity gap here in the world. $1 billion over several years. And we're really going to be investing in minority-owned businesses. We're going to be helping underprivileged folks around the world. And that, again, it just goes to the testament and the statement of how important this is to us. It's really part of our DNA.
So it's worth restating, Ida, $1 billion towards this initiative. I mean, that if you just take a step back and look at Citi, the appointment of the first female CEO in the banking industry, a major US bank, the diversity in your team that you talked about, the stats, and now putting money behind these initiatives, that's just incredible. I am so delighted to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. No, we are very proud of that as well. And Christine, to your question on mentorship and sponsorship, clearly that's something that we talk about all the time. And it's critical and very important for two different reasons. I think having a very diverse group of mentors is important. I personally have three different types of mentors. I have senior mentors, I have peer mentors, and I have junior mentors. And that provides me a diversity of perspectives. And sometimes my junior mentors come up with some of the most interesting, different, out of the box ideas. So that ability to get that fresh perspective, and then also the words of wisdom from some of the older mentors, I think is very important to have that diversity of views. Likewise, I also think it's very important to have mentors that are outside of your immediate industry. You don't want to just, like, for example, if I have all my mentors are in finance and banking, we are all thinking in the finance and banking confined sort of industry view. Whereas if I have some mentors from fashion or from the tech space or from healthcare, different people are dealing with different issues, but the way that we deal with those can be very helpful in thinking about solutions. So I just emphasize, again, having multiple types of mentors, a diversity of mentors across different industries to provide different viewpoints, I think is very, very important. Now, on the moment of sponsorship, I think sponsorship is incredibly equally important in that this is slightly different from a mentor. This is someone that actually can make it happen, that can put you in a visible project, that can give you a push project. And I am so fortunate that I've had so many wonderful mentors throughout my career. And I'm very lucky to call Jane Fraser, who's our next CEO, one of them. And she is an enormously huge advocate of diversity, of inclusion, of supporting women and helping women get to the next level. And so some of the things that we're doing around the Citi Women Initiatives, which is one of our largest affinity networks at Citi, is to focus on the development of our female leaders and our next generation of female leaders. And part of that is making sure that our women have been paired up with some of our senior most women to allow them that opportunity. So we definitely try to think about it from multiple perspectives.
And you gave some really great points of advice there. Is, in fact, I sit on a woman CEO roundtable or council, and we meet every week. And one of the things we talked about is ensuring that your network is outside of your specific industry for that exact purpose and reason. And I loved what you said about a push project, right? It's like we all need those push projects. And so those are great tidbits that we can all take some advice from you on. And just the more you talk too about the programs you have at Citi to ensure that there's not only a peer group at the level you're at, but there's mentors and sponsors all the way through the organization. That's just fantastic. You don't hear a lot about that in companies taking action. So this is fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you
Christine,
for
I
sharing
think
that.
it also just stems from the very beginning of starting to think about diversity inclusion from when students graduate and when we bring in our analysts. It starts at the very beginning. And making sure
Absolutely.
that we
You're
have,
right.
50% women in our analyst class, that we have a diverse analyst group, that we have a diverse interview slate, that we are, very diverse in the group that's interviewing as well. So, I mean, there's so many different considerations that we're always thinking about, but these are the types of things that we're really focused on to move the needle going forward.
Absolutely. And you're right. It does start at the beginning. And I think that companies removing bias around making sure that the incoming group of teams that you're bringing on from intern level all the way reflect a diverse makeup of people, because that's what our client base is beginning to look like as well. So again, great stuff. So Ida, with all the facets of your experience and your perspective from your amazing career in different industries, bringing it back to financial services, please tell us, what is your vision?
That is a very tough question, Christine. Vision is so broad, but you know what? Let me just share with you maybe my passion.
That'd
So
be
I'm
great.
so glad that we're spending time today on our podcast talking about women, women's advancement, women's equality, diversity, because these are things that I am incredibly passionate about. I mentioned to you that I'm part of Citi Women, which is our women's affinity group, and think about how to develop our next generation of female talent within the financial services industry. But outside of the financial industry, I'm on the board of my alma mater, Wellesley College Alumni Association, where we think about the challenges in education as it pertains to the next generations of female leaders, and what do we need to do from an educational side point to help develop in on those skills. And then on the outside part of the nonprofit side, I'm one of the founding partners of the Lotus Circle Group for Asia Foundation, and that focuses on supporting underprivileged women across Asia and Southeast Asia, providing books for education, shelter, and the like. So all different facets of what I'm super passionate about. You can see that both in my work, outside my work, with education, and with nonprofits. I am very much focused, as I said, on breaking that glass ceiling and breaking the bamboo ceiling so that when my daughter grows up, she can say it's absolutely doable. And there's plenty of role models that she can look after.
And I love that this is your passion. And I do believe, like, as successful women, we have a responsibility to give back through work, whether it's nonprofits or working with young women during their educational and formative years. So the fact that you're not only just carving out your own path for success, but you're taking action by doing these initiatives in your personal and professional life. So that is amazing. We need more women like you that continue to do that good work, because that's what's going to make a difference for all of us as we go forward.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you
for
so
sharing.
much, Christine.
So Ida, my final question that I ask all my guests is, I would like to know, in your words, please tell us why you believe her success matters.
Her success matters because women's voice is very important and should be heard. And we won't settle until we get to that 50% and hopefully greater mark. I think it is so important for us to continue to ask for what we think we deserve. I think if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. So make sure you're your own best advocate, that you're your own best cheerleader as well. And very importantly, we have to partner extremely well with our male colleagues, right? Because they're also standing right by us in the support of making this a more equal, a more fair, a more inclusive place for women in the workforce.
And that's a great point for you to bring up. And it was actually my very first guest was a male, and we focused on men as allies. And I think that's an important part of this too. It's all of our collective responsibilities to work on this together. Diversity and inclusion is something we all need to be aware of and mindful, regardless of race or gender or background. And the more we can talk about it and take action in everything we do and how we behave, then it's going to make a better environment and a better place for everyone as we go forward. So, Ida, my personal thanks to you for sharing about your career, your background, some great pieces of advice, and then just your passion around this. You can hear it in your energy. It's one thing to see somebody's work, it's another to hear it in their voice and how they come across. So this has been an amazing session. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine. And thanks for all you're doing as well.
Yes, it's equally my passion. So. Thank you for listening to this episode of Her Success Matters. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available, and share this podcast with others that believe her success matters.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Investment News. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.